let's talk now about Passover.
Welcome to The Big Puzzle. In this podcast, we explore the subtle connections between science, religion, politics, economics, and history. One piece at a time, we unveil the big picture of this shared experience that we call life.
Jesus and his disciples were eating the Passover during the Last Supper. In the Christian world, we talk about all the symbolism of Christ, and many of these symbols have to do with the Passover, the Pesach. So, what is the Pesach? Well, it's one of the main celebrations for the Israelites, and it remembers the time where the angel passed over the children of Israel and just killed the firstborns of the Egyptians, at the beginning of the Exodus. So this celebration was at the beginning of the year, in the month of Nisan, according to the Jewish calendar. And the word Pesach is not very clear, the significance. It has this meaning of skipping, right? So that's why we use it for Passover. So the angel skipped the Israelites, that actually not all the Israelites, the one which comply with what the Lord has asked them to do, to liberate them from the Egyptians, right? This was a celebration that was private, held mostly at home, even though there could be some meetings around that, but mostly the most important part happened at home. So that's why in the previous video I was talking about the apostles kind of feeling maybe, a little uneasy, not being with their families at that time, at the same time being excited to be with the Lord, but also seeing the Lord kind of preoccupied more than usual. So it must have been, a difficult thing that was maybe in the back of their heads during that time. So what was that the Lord commanded people to do during this celebration? First of all, we know that they had to sacrifice a lamb. And not any lamb, it has to be a chosen lamb that had no blemish. Now the Israelites, they did not eat much lamb or meat. That was expensive. They used the sheep and the goats and everything for other purposes mostly. From the goat they could have milk, and they had wool to make their clothes and so on. So sacrificing animals was not something that they were very used to do. But the Lord required them to sacrifice one lamb, and not any lamb, probably their best lamb. And I guess that the children in the family would kind of feel bad. Maybe they had the most as a pet. So having to kill it, and not only that, but to keep that image in mind that they killed an innocent creature, they had to roast the whole animal. They couldn't, fraction it. So in the center of the table, they had their lamb only dead, and roasted, and they were going to eat it. So it was a profound symbolism that maybe, they didn't understand at the moment. But that was kind of the central part, the sacrifice of the lamb. Also, some other things was that, they had to put the blood of the lamb into the lintel of the lintel is in Spanish, I don't know why, lintel of the door, and also in the post of the door. So they had to paint it with the blood of the lamb, and that was the sign that they would give the angel to pass over, to skip that house and not kill their firstborn. Also, the idea of firstborn dying, right? And how they could replace the death of their own firstborn with the death of an innocent animal or creature. So all those symbolism in Christianity were kind of used to those, and realizing that, yeah, they were pointing to Jesus. So I'm not saying anything that you probably didn't hear before. But still, these are very interesting pieces of the puzzle. They will also be eating bitter herbs, and the idea was to remind them about the bitterness that they suffered in Egypt. And we know how often, if you read what happened during those 4 years before they were allowed to enter into the land, how often they forgot that it was not good to be in Egypt, right? They were just delaying the blessings because of their unfaithfulness to the Lord, right? But going back to Egypt would never have been a good idea. But, people idealize, we do idealize things that they're not ideal at all. But so, and the other important symbolism was the unleavened bread. Why unleavened bread? Well, we're going to be talking that extensively in another piece of the puzzle during this week. But for now, it has to do with the haste. The Lord just wanted them out. They couldn't wait. They couldn't plan. They had to follow the Lord. And that meant that they couldn't leaven the bread like they usually did. So that unleavened bread symbolized that urgency, that haste that they had to have to follow the Lord, to be saved from slavery, from physical death, right? To emphasize that even more, they had to eat that meal with their belts fastened and the sandals in their shoes, and they had to have their staff in their hand, and I'm pretty sure that also they had to eat it standing. Again, this idea that you need to be prepared to live. This is your last meal here. After this, you need to go somewhere. Right? You can't stay there. I try to think about all these things now, connecting it to Jesus and his apostles during the Last Supper. Right? We will do that, and that's why we're talking about this. But another very important part of this was the instruction to the new generation, to the children. So they had the responsibility during the Pesach to instruct the children why they were doing that, how the Lord had, delivered them from the Egyptians. And, again, it was a very family reunion, charged with emotion, charged with hope and remembrance and humility. It was a very emotionally and spiritually intense activity that they had to do once a year. And we know that even Jews today who do a variation of this, it's a very important celebration for them. And sometimes they share with other people outside of the family. So if you ever have the opportunity to attend to one of the Seder, I would like to invite you to do it. I was never invited. I would love to see it. I read about it, but I never witnessed it myself. So if you have the opportunity, don't let it go. But again, we're talking about this because of how it connects with the Last Supper, the events around the Last Supper, and why John, James, and Peter fell asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane. You have to wait until we connect that piece and explain why I think it's connected. But just remember that Pesach had this meaning of physical liberation, right? From slavery, from death, from physical death. So in a couple of days we will be talking about another celebration that it had more of a spiritual sense, a spiritual liberation, but you have to wait for that one. So my invitation until we meet again is to think about these things during these days. Read what happened. Try to frame what was happening during the Last Supper with these things. So especially about the bread, how symbolic that bread is. And I think that tomorrow we'll be talking about exclusively about the bread and all the symbolisms there. So, well, this will be it for today. So see you tomorrow. Bye.